Well, I want to say I'm really happy to be back here at Delmont. I was here, people probably don't remember, in the fall of 2013. So it was 3 years ago, almost 3 years ago, when Wendy was out. It was a pleasure to be here. And as I said at the time, I spent many Sundays or Fridays or other times here at Delmont because my mother was the choir director at Severn United Methodist Church, and we used to do events together. And in particular, I remember these Tenebrae services on Good Friday that used to take place with the two choirs from Delmont and Severn. I'm not sure how anybody fit in here. I'm not sure in those days how you actually had everybody from Delmont and Severn in this room, but we were all here, and there were some very, very moving services in those days. So I want to congratulate Wendy on being an elder. As I said at Severn, she still seems too young to be an elder. Some of us feel like we should be elders, but we want to congratulate Wendy. I think she may talk a little bit about the significance of this new ordination that is about to come. Okay, so I have a story to tell that is a true story, but I have to begin by asking the question if anyone has been to Israel in this room. You've been to Israel. Where were you?
Actually all over.
Okay. Now, by the way, to go all over Israel does not take a lot of time. It is a very, very small place. Were you there on a study tour or a spiritual tour?
I was actually in the military.
That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense because there are a lot of military people in Israel. Well, the story I want to tell begins of a trip that I took to Israel in December of 2014. Now, I had never been, and this had been something I'd always sort of been thinking about. You know, it'd be great to go to the Holy Land. Great to go to Israel and visit Jerusalem and various other places. So this was a tour, a study tour, that was put together by an academic institution, and they brought international law professors to Israel. Now, obviously, the purpose was not really to get into the holy sites, but was more to talk about the political situation, the politics, and some of the general sort of geopolitical settings that Israel presents. And so there were about 13 of us, so it was a small group. We landed in Tel Aviv, and we spent several days in Tel Aviv. Tel Aviv is on the Mediterranean Sea. It is absolutely gorgeous. It is a very modern city. You might think you were on the south of France or in Spain. You wouldn't think of yourselves as being in Israel. I got to run, I'm a runner, I got to run along the beach of Tel Aviv. It was beautiful. And we had a series of meetings that took place. They brought in various officials talking about different issues. We did manage to go down the southern part of Israel and went toward the southern crossing to Gaza. This was a very tough time, so we didn't actually go into Gaza, but we went down to that portion. We went to a kibbutz, and we hung around in Tel Aviv. That was great. But the more significant time, now if you've been in the military, you've probably been on a helicopter. Okay. How many people have been on a helicopter? Oh, we got a bunch of people. So they're all old hands at what it's. I had never been in a helicopter. And the helicopter was about the size of the table. So it was a small helicopter. There were 5 of us in this helicopter. So we had a bunch of helicopters because we were a fairly large group. It was being operated by a former or retired Israeli Air Force pilot. So I figured that's probably going to be pretty safe. The person probably knows what he's doing. And so we took the helicopter from Tel Aviv to the Golan Heights. Now the Golan Heights, you've been to the Golan Heights?
No, actually not all.
Okay, so the Golan Heights is in the north of Israel, up in the area where Caesarea Philippi, the references in the New Testament to that. It's up in that general area. And to get there, we had to cross the upper portion of the Jordan River. So we go into the Golan Heights. Now, the Golan Heights is disputed territory, meaning it was being occupied by Israel. It had been part of Syria. Some of the Syrians might now say it is still part of Syria. And so I was either in part of Israel or part of Syria, depending upon how you fall out in that particular discussion. Well, there were UN peacekeepers in the Golan Heights, and they had this big telescope where they were looking over into what was indisputably Syria to make sure no monkey business, no funny things were going on. So we were in the Golan Heights, We then took a bus down the Syrian border to the point where Syria and Jordan come together, and we looked out at the beautiful, beautiful valley there. We moved from there to the Sea of Galilee. The Sea of Galilee was amazing. It was calm, and it's really a lake. It's not, you think of the Mediterranean Sea or Lake Michigan. It's really a fairly small lake, like Deep Creek Lake. It's really a fairly small lake. Well, we looked at the Sea of Galilee, then we got back into the helicopter, and we took the helicopter to the southern portion of the Sea of Galilee, and we crossed, once again, the Jordan River. Now, this is the point where the Jordan River comes out of the southern part of the Sea of Galilee. Now, the Jordan River is not a mighty river. We sing these songs, Jordan River is chilly and cold, kills the body but not the soul, and all. And you think of this huge, massive Mississippi. As I have described before, it's like the Severn Run. The Jordan River is a tiny, tiny stream. But as we're flying over it in the helicopter, we see the point where it's leaving the Sea of Galilee, and people are saying, that's where John the Baptist baptized. So that's where Jesus would have been baptized when he went down to the Jordan River. So we continued our helicopter flight over the West Bank, and we started to come in to Jerusalem. Now, the one nice thing about being on a helicopter and having a sophisticated photographic device, my phone here, is that I was able to get these amazing pictures of Jerusalem as I'm coming in. And in particular, what really stood out is the temple, the so-called Temple Mount. Now, as we know, the original temple was built by Solomon. It was destroyed. It was rebuilt by Herod the Great. And then it was destroyed by the Romans. And as I'm driving over it now, what you notice most on the Temple Mount is the Dome of the Rock. This is a gold-encrusted dome. It is a holy shrine in Islam, but it is over what is called the foundation stone. Now, the foundation stone is something that has great significance in Islam, in Judaism, and in Christianity. In both Islam and Judaism, it was supposedly the rock where Abraham brought his son to be sacrificed. Now, in Judaism and Christianity, we say the son is Isaac. In Islam, they say the son is Ishmael. It is also the stone where Islam argues that Muhammad raised and ascended into heaven. And in Judaism, many assert that that stone was in the Holy of Holies in the temple. The inner sanctum, where only the high priest could enter, and only on one day a year, Yom Kippur, where the priest would go in, would offer a sacrifice, and would then say prayers for the people and for himself. So I'm getting all this from the helicopter. Then we land. We stay at the King David Hotel, which is a great hotel to stay in if you're going to be in Jerusalem. Might as well stay at the King David Hotel. Great hotel in Jerusalem. And from my window, I could see the walls of the old city of Jerusalem. Well, we spent a lot of time there. And again, the purpose wasn't a spiritual tour. It was not an archaeological tour. It was really about Israel, Palestine, politics. That was really... So we went to the Israeli Memorial for the Holocaust, Yad Vashem, which was an extremely moving experience. We went to the Israeli Supreme Court. We did a lot of those things. But we did go into the old city. We had an amazing tour by an archaeologist. And then we went back several times. We went to the so-called Western Wall, the Wailing Wall, which is supposedly the only remaining part of the temple which Solomon built. I went down, I put on a yarmulke, and I went down to the wall, and I prayed with hundreds of other people that were standing there. Jews, Christians, people of all different faiths, all praying together at the wall. And then we had a special tour. There are tunnels, because the wall kind of continues under the city. And so there are tunnels. So we went under one of these tunnels, and we could continue to follow the wall. And we got to one place where there were several Jewish women praying. And our guide said to us, that is where they believe. The closest spot is to the Holy of Holies, because the Holy of Holies would be ultimately on the Temple Mount. And this was as far as they could get. And so they were praying as close as they could get to the Holy of Holies. We also went into the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. And as we went into the church, we were shown various places. I remember we went up a set of stairs, and there was a big rock that resembled a skull. And we were told that was Golgotha. That's where the cross was. That's where Jesus died. And then we went down into another part of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, and there was the sepulchre. They said this is where the tomb was. And there was a little house where you could go in and just spend a couple of seconds venerating the area where the tomb was. Now with this experience, many people asked me, they said, was it a really moving religious experience to go to the old city, to go to Golgotha, to go to the Wailing Wall, to go to the Holy Sepulchre? Did you feel a revelation? Did you feel completely changed or altered? And as I thought about it, the answer was no. It just seemed, I mean, it's a cool place, but it just seemed like a normal city with normal people. People going about their daily routine. People crying, people smiling, people laughing. Cats running all over. Jerusalem is known for its cats. There are cats all. Oh, matter of fact, there's a rabbi that has a blog about the cats of Jerusalem. So cats running all over the place. It was a normal place. Again, it wasn't Baltimore, but it was a normal place. And then it hit me. Jesus didn't come to some mythical place. He didn't come to some magical place. He didn't come to Oz or Narnia or Hogwarts. He came to a place where people lived. He came to a place where there were real, normal people. And so it is today. God doesn't come to us only in the great shrines or in the great cathedrals or in the majestic places. God comes to us at Delmont. God comes to us where we are. Even Glen Burnie. God comes to us wherever we are. Amen. And if you reflect on the scriptures this morning, they talk about a sense of urgency. Seek the Lord while he may be found. Call upon the Lord while he is near. Well, the message is, he can be found right here. He is near right here. And he's calling. And all we need to say is, Lord, here I am.
Amen. Amen.